to know enough. Too old to play the part, too cool for showing up. Too dumb to say what's smart, so I'm a substitute waiting for the game to start. But I ain't trying to get played like change your heart. And may I park and find me another ride. I'm letting Florence tell you how I feel inside.
Well, if you have a moment, this is a decent story for you. You might enjoy it, might not. So the year is approximately 2013, 2014. So maybe like 2 years in my business. I own Men in Black Tuxedos and in Jonesboro, Arkansas. So this gentleman came in and he rented a tux for me. Picks up his stuff. He's in a wedding. Goes back, tries it on, and I guess I think the pants didn't fit. Maybe the jacket didn't fit. At this point, I don't remember. It's been 12, 13 years ago. And so he calls me and is like, "Hey, do you care if I get a replacement?" Or I don't know how he put it. This and that doesn't fit right. And I said, "Yeah, that's fine, man." And I got to looking on his sheet, and he had called in his measurements. So these weren't my measurements. Okay, if I measure you, or if you get measured here, and something is not right or incorrect, we'll fix that for you free of charge. I'm not going to charge you anything if we made the mistake. However, if you call your measurements in, if you got measured from somewhere else, geez, and something is wrong, I'm not paying for that person's mistake. Radical idea, I know. Seems like I'm going crazy. Like, this is like, you would think this would be common sense, at least in my world, right? I would think, yeah, if I call in somewhere and I'm not, that company is not going to pay for my stuff that I messed up on. Well, this guy, this is a radical new theory to him. He comes in hot off the collar. Once I tell him that, I'm like, hey, that's fine. I can get you something else, and it'll just cost you, my shipping cost. I'm not going to make any profit off fixing this mistake, but since I didn't call in the measurements, I'm just helping you out. You just have to pay the shipping. And he just flips out. I'm not paying for it. Throwing profanities out there. And this is like the day of the wedding, or day before I think it's the day of the wedding. So not only has he waited till the very last day to pick his stuff up, he called in his measurements and it was wrong. Okay, so there's two things there that he could have fixed or made prior arrangements to figure this out, but he did not. Okay, so I had that discussion with him on the phone. He comes in, and like I say, he's hot, getting upset, getting angry, and I'm like, "Hey, man." I try to explain to him what I just said to you. These aren't my measurements. If it were mine, I wouldn't have a problem at all. Uh, fixing it for no cost. But I'm actually fixing someone else's mistake. I'm paying for someone else's mistake. Still, is not clicking in his head. It's like It's like we're talking in a different language. Like, he's talking in Chinese. I'm talking in English. There's no chasm that can be reached. There's no bridge that we can meet. Okay, so I call my seamstress at the time, which was my mom, ironically, and I'm like, "Hey, do you care to come up here?" She was like in Jonesboro, I think, "and fix these pants, whatever." And I'm on the phone with her, and I'm like, he doesn't know that it's my mom. Doesn't matter. I'm like, "Hey, can you come up here and fix these pants? It's for a wedding today. Pants need to be hemmed." And she's like, "Yeah, that's fine." And so she walks and in front of him, I say, "Hey, if someone calls in their measurements, or you need to fix something that someone else did, would you charge them? And she said, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And he's like, oh, so you're just trying to be a smart ass now. And I mean, he's at an 8. We're slowly getting to a 10. I'm trying to remain calm, but at this point, I don't have the skills necessary to do that, to remain, if someone comes at you at an 8 to a 10, you a lot of times you can dictate how that conversation goes. You come at them at a 2, they're probably going to drop back down to a 2. But at that point in my life, I'm not like he's at an 8. I'm coming to a 9 quick, which is not a good idea. But anyways, and so he's like, so you're just trying to be a smart ass now, huh? And I'm like, hey man, I'm just showing you that this doesn't make sense logically, that I'm paying for someone else's mistake. And then my mom jumps in and says something to him. And then I don't remember what he said to her, but he mouthed off to her. At that time, even now, big mistake. You've crossed the line. You can talk trash to me. You can do that stuff to me, but now you've entered into another realm. You're talking about my family. I don't remember what he said, but it was he was cursing, and so that was sort of the line in the sand that had gotten crossed. My mom finishes up, and I am taking his fixed pants, and I charged him for it. I'm taking his pants and I'm walking him out. And he's like, "Hey man, just give me the pants." I'm like, "No, I'll just walk him out." And I'm trying to get him out of the store, okay? And I'm just like, "I'll just walk him out to your car for you, Just so I don't want to hand him the pants and then him just keep rattling off. I'm just like, I'm just gonna walk him out. So as I'm walking him out, I get out the door, and he's like, "Give me my effing pants," or something like that, and then nudges me and jerks him out of my hand. Okay, at this point, level 12 has been reached. Okay, super mad. Okay, fuming. You can see steam coming out my ears. At this point, I'm lifting weights. I'm 170 pounds of you know. I've been working out. Okay, let's just you know. He jerks him out of my hands. I turn around. Shouldn't have done it. Push him to the ground against a vehicle. Actually, there was a vehicle there. Push it, just launch him into orbit. And I say, "I'm ready to go right now. Are you ready? Let's go. Let's do this right now." And then he gets up in my face. He says, "Oh, I got you now. I got you on video." And I'm like, "I don't care. Let's go. You're ready? I'm ready. Let's do this." Okay. He walks back to his vehicle. I'm thinking it's over. And I'm just trying to process this in my mind. Like, what has happened? What has just taken place? Like, this guy is just nuts. He's nuts because he didn't want to pay for something. It was like maybe $20, $10. He didn't want to have to pay for his own mistake. And so, anyways, turns out the guy left his sunglasses there. Okay. So he calls me back on Monday and says, "Hey, this is so and so. I've left my sunglasses there." And I had already noticed this. I was thinking, "Gosh, please don't come back in here because it's gonna be a problem. The police are gonna have to be called. Something's gonna have to happen." Okay, so calls me Monday after the wedding and says, "This is so and so. I've left my sunglasses. Oh, and by the way, I got a buddy who works for news, and he says he'd love to do a story on this, um, about what just took place over the weekend, and you pushing me, and I've got it all on video, and he's happy. He's happy to do a story on this, but I'll drop all these, you know, allegations and all this stuff if you just give me my money back." And I said, here's what's going to happen. Those are my two options. Okay. I said, well, you're not getting your money back for your tux, and I'll have the glasses ready for whomever comes to pick them up. But you ain't getting a penny back, brother. You ain't getting 1 cent back. Not one nickel. Not one nickel. Not one nickel. Okay, so called him out on his bluff. I actually have I still have that conversation because I recorded it on my phone on a video when he called. When I saw who was calling, I just started recording. Moral of the story is, what is the moral of the story? The moral of the story is to keep your cool. Just don't engage with stupidity. You know, at that point in my life, I was probably, I don't know, 25, full of testosterone and ready to rock. You know, just not a wise decision on my part. But I was ready. I was ready. That is another point. You got always be ready. If someone's ready, be ready. You know. Um. Yep. So pushed him down. Um. We almost threw down right there in the parking lot. Luckily, that didn't happen. No one was injured. He didn't get a penny back. So made money off that Playboy. And yep, that's the story. Don't engage with stupidity because you can't fix it. There's nothing you can say or nothing you can do to make it make sense to some people. You know, even if you had it written out on a script, and or even if you had it just plain as day, where anybody, a kindergartner could understand it, they would still be like, "Oh man, I just no man, it's I ain't going." Can't fix it. Okay, hope you liked it. If you didn't, well, maybe you like the next one.